ideations. If you've been thinking about suicide a lot lately, or you're having an idea that, the world may be better off without you, or even if you're coming up with a plan, if you're creating in your mind a way that perhaps I can, things are going to get a little bit better if I'm not here anymore, and you start to think about suicide and you don't want to be here, or you start to create a plan about how actually you're going to kill yourself, then it's not just that you're just some psycho or that you're crazy and that you need to, be off of the earth. It's that you're probably experiencing depression. If you are experiencing suicidal thoughts or ideations, or you feel like you're gonna, you want to kill yourself, or you are going in total crisis, there's a 24-hour suicide prevention lifeline. The phone number is 1-800-273-TALK. That's 1-800-273-8255. Again, that's the suicide prevention line. So if you or anyone that you know, if someone's going in crisis, it can be in the wee hours of the morning. If you need help, you can call the suicide prevention lifeline. It's 1-800-273-8255. And I also posted that on my Instagram page at Blondie Ash. And you can also go to that website for other mental health tips and information. And if you're a provider, such as myself, or if you're a professional, a mental health professional, and you are looking for best practices, you can also go to suicidepreventionlifeline.org, and there's all kinds of resources and tips for you there. I also posted a wellness article on my Twitter page, and that's also at Blondie Ash. So I put some of these resources on my social media. Twitter and Instagram is at Blondie Ash. Okay. So they're talking about some of the tips that we can use to keep our mental health, to boost our mental health. And one of the first things that you can do is to go ahead and take the first step. And so you just heard us talking about all of these different signs to know whether or not we're in a mental health crisis. Obviously, if you're feeling irritable every day and you're feeling down every day and you don't feel like doing the things that you used to do, you don't even want to go out with your friends, or you're having headaches and suicidal thoughts and you're fatigued and you're having memory loss, and this stuff has been going on for some time, you're not in the mood to do anything to boost yourself because you're past that period. And so you are in crisis and you need to seek help immediately, whether that's calling the crisis line, whether that's getting to the doctor. Maybe you can talk to someone. If you don't have a confidant, then that's why we say to go to therapy. I know in certain communities, it is taboo to go to therapy. Certain cultures and certain communities, they just don't believe in it. Especially, I know I've heard of it, and it just seems so weird. In the Christian community, it seems taboo to go to a therapist because a lot of Christians say, and I've heard this, and I think it's just something that's just made up. It's really bogus to me. But they say, well, if you believe in God, you don't need to go to a therapist. That's not necessarily true. It's not in the Bible that God helps those that helps themselves. That's not a slogan that's in the Bible, but it is a slogan that people say, and I kind of believe it. There's a time when you have to stand, and then there's a time when there's stuff that you need to do. You have to take action, because God doesn't create wimps. Okay, we are created from the Most High. He is omnipresent, omniscient, and omnipotent. He has all power. And so if the Holy Spirit, if you're a Christian and you know the Holy Spirit dwelleth in you, then you are not a sinking, shrinking violet. You are created to have a voice, to have an opinion, to be strong. What the Bible does say is that God is not of a spirit of fear, but of power, of love, and of a sound mind. That is in the Bible. And so it seems that if you're not feeling strong, if you're not feeling fierce, and you don't know what to do about it, and life is shrinking and it's slowly crumbling down in front of you, it would seem weird that you don't do anything about it. I mean, literally, there's just a couple of options here. You simply have the option to fight or not fight. Literally, it's just two options. If you're not feeling well and it's kind of the same thing as to where if you do have a headache and you say, I'm going to take, an aspirin or a Tylenol or an ibuprofen to conquer this headache because I don't want to feel the headache. I want to feel better. What's the difference? Because that's a medical condition, because it's physical, I guess. But what's the difference in if you're saying, okay, I'm feeling a little down today. I'm feeling a little fatigued. I'm a little irritable, and this doesn't seem right. It seems okay if you experience it a day or two, because as we mentioned before, that's normal. And most people feel down sometimes. But if you're constantly feeling that way, and then it's starting to alter your life and the way that you function and the way you move in the world, why wouldn't you do something to help yourself? It's just like dying a slow death. You live here on earth, but you're dead. It's like the Walking Dead. And that's so funny that I would actually say that, because I actually have an audio series that I did on Walking Dead, and it kind of encompasses some of it. It's just, you have a life, you have an existence and a being, and you're here on earth, but you're not doing anything with it, or you don't feel good. So you just say, so you don't feel good, so you're just going to shrink down and you're just going to not feel well, and that's it? Is that the end? No, you've got to do something. You've got to step up. You've got to do something to take charge of your health, because, and this is so funny because I'm talking about it in the sense of, Christians and things like that. But you have to wonder, because we take care of ourselves in every way. And I'm being a little careful how I say this. But we take care of ourselves in every way. We take care of ourselves spiritually. And we say, God would want this, and we ask God for things. But why is it not okay to take care of ourselves physically and mentally? I mean, this is a big question that I have. Hit me up, chat with me live, if you're listening and you have any kind of suggestions on this. But we, as Christians, we ask God for things, and we want God to give them to us, and we ask Him for spiritual wellness. We'll read the Bible, or we'll go to church, and we get fed on Sunday, and that Sunday is supposed to carry us through, and we're having, Bible study on Wednesday, and we're reading nightly before we go to bed or when we get up in the morning. And this is our spiritual health, and this is what keeps us sustained and armed with the word of the Lord so we can be in the world, right? And we ask God for things. Dear Lord, whatever it is, if it's financial, quite often we do ask for physical health, and we ask God for healing, and we want to be healed. And we say, dear Lord, I want a new home. I need a new home, or I don't have a home. It don't even need to be new. I don't have one to begin with. We ask God for, possessions. We ask God for a new car when our cars are broken down and we need another way to have a new car. We ask him to be healed when we have ailments. But why don't we ask for mental health? Do we ask for, a sane and a sound mind? Do we ask God to make our brains well, to clear us of the fog and the confusion that we seek and that we face? Do we ask God to clear up the heartache and the pain? So it's such a catch-22 because we talk about and we ask for spiritual health and physical health so much, but we don't ask for the mental health. And if you ask for something, say you acquired such great wealth, but your mental health is failing, what good is the wealth? So we always equate it with physical health. Well, if you're not healthy, if you don't feel good, if you don't have physical health, no point to have money, but we never equate it with mental health. It's all one. So it seems like to me that it would be more appropriate to pray for spiritual health, mental health, physical health, all of that. That would make us well-rounded as people. So enough about that. I know I'm probably going to catch a little bit of flack for that because people don't like when you're talking about, God this and God that, when you're talking about Christians and you putting stuff together. But I'm just saying, I got to call it out like it is. We ask for so many things from God. Well, we've got to include our mental health in it because I certainly believe that, the mental health and depression, it's affecting our children. It's affecting our kids. We have youngsters that are out there talking about they want to, kill themselves, that are suffering from depression. And it used to be this, conception that suicide was for the middle-aged white man who had committed adultery and he would fly off to Vegas somewhere and commit suicide in a hotel room. But depression and suicide is not just about middle-aged white men. And it's so funny because last night I was asking, it was not funny, but it's just a coincidence. Last night, I think it was Chicago Fire. I'd never watched Chicago Fire at all, ever. And my usual show that I watch on Tuesdays when I come in from choir rehearsal wasn't on TV. So the TV was just on and I was working on some content for the show. And I think it was the show on called Chicago Fire, if I'm not mistaken. And you could correct me on the chat if I'm wrong. But there was a segment where there was a guy and he was on the balcony of a party, or they were on a rooftop, and he was getting ready to jump off of the rooftop because he had committed adultery on his wife, and she had been a good wife to him. He couldn't see the other alternative, so he was going to jump off the roof. And that seems like the typical story, but I do psychosocial screenings for a living. That's one of the things that I do. And last week, I met with a child who was 12 years old who basically was telling me that she can't get out of bed every day. She's depressed every day, and she didn't know why. And I was trying to talk to her about different scenarios and different situations, and in the moment, and we know a little bit more now, but in the moment, she couldn't pinpoint why she didn't want to get out of bed every day, why she felt sad, and why she had felt like sometimes she wants to commit suicide. And I definitely believe that it's a trick of the devil, that he's attacking our children today, and more children are being faced with depression and suicide and suicidal ideations. And I definitely know this generation is different, and kids are different, and kids are going through so many different scenarios and life changes, and they're exposed to different things in this world today than my generation was exposed to, and our parents were exposed to, and our grandparents even. And they're not equipped because their parents